Oh, hey, I didn't see you right there. My name's Joaquin, Joaquin Dante. You may know me on the internet as OctoSquid. This isn't like those other videos I've done. This isn't zany, this isn't wacky, and not eccentric, unstable, unhinged. I'm here in East Palestine, Ohio, covering the train derailments, the controlled burn, and the effects it has on its citizens. The EPA, FEMA, and other government institutions are here trying to help. But is their help enough? And what exactly happened in this town? What exactly happened in this town? What was on the railways? Why is the media trying so hard to cover up what happened here? We're gonna get to the bottom of this, at least some answers. This is your boy OctoSquid, headed to the derailment site.
Well, I'm with the railroad police, and we got a call that someone was in a hazmat suit that didn't have permission down there.
Okay.
Do you have permission to be down there for the railroad?
I don't have.
The railroad called me.
I understand. I just don't think I have a lot to say right now.
Okay.
And as far as I knew, that was not off limits.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't find anything on the news that it's off limits, so that's why I came.
Yeah. Well, listen, I don't have a problem. I don't want to fight about anything like that. I just got a call from railroad employees that someone was down there that wasn't a railroad employee or a subcontractor.
Right.
So I got to find out why you're there.
Yeah.
And if you had permission, but you don't. But I understand you don't see a sign that says you can't be there.
And I can't find anything on the news about it that says I'm not allowed to be there.
Here's the thing, okay?
Yes, sir.
I'm with East Palestine Police, and like I said, we're not trying to cause you an issue, but we've got to protect.
Every time you walk down there, the railroad's going to keep calling.
I understand.
And it comes to a point, then there's trespassing laws too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't want to arrest anybody. We don't want to give anybody a hard time, but we got a job to do too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's.
But just stay off private property, I'd say.
Okay, right on. Say less.
Thank you.
No worries.
Have a good day.
You too. Thank you. Well, hey, I tried to get down to the derailment site, but apparently this is not appropriate weather to sneak in. Now, from what I've heard, this is what you should be wearing regardless if you're at the derailment site or not. If you're in East Palestine, you should be wearing this. That's what I've been hearing. Anyway, we got kind of close, but then we got stopped by Norfolk Southern's police. Anyway, this is your boy OctoSquid. Thanks for tuning in. Try and get it next time. Thank you. Bye.
Well, I'm a union teamster and I drive truck, and what they're doing is they're physically loading the contaminated soil into dump boxes, and they're transporting it from East Palestine down to East Liverpool, Ohio, where there is a hazardous waste incinerator that has been there for about 40 years. And my problem is they know that this stuff is hazardous and toxic, so I don't understand why they would transport it from East Palestine to East Liverpool, and this facility sits directly on the shore of the Ohio River. So now this toxic soil is being stored at this facility outdoors on a concrete pad where it's exposed to the weather, and again, it's right on the banks of the Ohio River, which is one of the largest waterways in North America. This river is formed at the confluence of the Allegheny and the Monongahela in Pittsburgh. The Ohio River runs down to the Mississippi and all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. And if that stuff gets into the river, you know, it's going to be bad, because so many people along that river is where they get their water from. And it just worries me. I don't think that we will ever truly know the effects of this catastrophic train derailment. You know, years down the road, I still don't think we'll know.
So we're looking at potentially a third of the country, at least, using contaminated water.
That has access to that water, yeah.
So I've been seeing some stuff on the internet, other people have too. How far would that water, the Ohio River, that was the one contaminated, how far does that run?
So the Ohio River runs down the length of Ohio. It borders Kentucky. It actually touches Indiana and drains into the Mississippi. So it's hundreds of miles. The greatest risk of contamination, where it all is closest to the spill site. But as it rains, the contamination will keep being lifted off the creek bottoms and moved downstream and deposited. So there will be a continued source of contamination moving down these rivers until it's either stopped, where you dig it up, or it just goes away, which is likely not to happen for the next 20 to 100 years if you don't clean it up.
And so, what assistance have you been receiving, you and your family been receiving, since the derailment on the 3rd of February?
All I got was the receipts that I turned in for gas when we stayed at the hotel. Some families were going to the room service, but I didn't. I went to Walmart and bought a bunch of groceries, and we ate out of a cooler for 2 days. And they reimbursed for receipts for groceries and some gas and stuff, but that's the only assistance we've gotten. And then they had an inconvenience check for $1,000 that they gave the residents. I mean, I would have been glad to give that back and have my life back, and that's all we've gotten.
I mean, we just don't know where our business is going, basically. So it's just heart-wrenching. It's been a lot of work, and we just don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, basically. So. And
what assistance have you received, if any?
None.
No, you haven't received any assistance?
Not yet, no. Are we going to get any? I don't know. I know in the beginning it seemed like they were trying to sweep everything under the rug and make it not a big deal. And
the government agencies were initially, the local agencies, the county agencies, and the state agencies were faced with a really significant no-win scenario where they had this chemical disaster. And so they made decisions at the time that they thought were good. Since then, dealing with whether or not the water's safe, the air's safe, people can return to their homes, the testing hasn't been directed to answer specific questions. I mean, we've seen things been tested for that are not supposed to be present. So water testing reports, for example, are looking for a pesticide called DDT. DDT is not supposed to be there. But DDT is run normally when you're looking just for typical drinking water contaminants. So that leads me to believe agencies are treating this like a typical water contamination, and it's not. Which also leads me to believe that the decisions that they're making on what to test for is not being informed by people that understand exactly what happened and what to look for.
So what testing has been done?
Well, after the train derailed, there was firefighters and hazmat crews did air testing, but they used these quick, small handheld devices just to gauge, like, is there something there? Is there something they need to worry about? Then additional testing was conducted by different state agencies and federal agencies where they actually took air samples from on these devices, except they had way more of these devices around the area. And then they also started taking air samples and looking for specific chemicals. So the air sampling they were doing before, they weren't just looking for specific chemicals, they were looking for whatever was present. Is there something there or is there not? There's also been water sampling conducted of the creek that was contaminated. And the creek that was contaminated had slugs of contamination like flowing down the creek. So it probably wasn't water anymore. It was just like a liquid chemical ditch. And it went down from Sulphur Run to Leslie Run, and then kept going all the way down the High River. And as it went, it diluted. But what we found is that there's a significant amount of chemical that is basically settled into the creeks away from the site where people are. So down Sulphur Run, we sampled there. Leslie Run, we sampled there. And there's a significant amount. Sampling-wise, officials haven't taken any samples of that settled material. So they keep testing the water, but all the stuff is actually like probably settled out. And anytime it rains, it gets lifted up and moved down. So if you take water samples, you won't find stuff. That's why you have to sample where the contamination is.
Have you had any experience dealing with these institutions, trying, like, whether it's Norfolk Southern, the EPA, the CDC? Have you had any interaction with them at all?
No. Not so far. We did get our water tested yesterday. They took samples to test, so I can't say it was actually tested. But it's going to be 2 weeks before we know anything about that. Okay. And that's the other thing, like what I talked about, and Kelly had said about the time frame. We don't want to get rid of the equipment if it is usable, but we still have to wait for them to come out and test everything, and we have to wait for the results to come back.
How do you hold them accountable?
Definitely Norfolk Southern, Alan Shaw. I've tried to contact him a couple of times. He hasn't returned any of my calls. He has talked to my son-in-law and the mayor. They're definitely responsible. This train was on fire 20 miles away from here. I think they knew about it. I've anonymously had railroad workers contact me and tell me that we need to demand the audio tapes from the train that night because that'll prove when they knew about it. Personally, I think they were trying to get the train back to the rail yard, which is where they were headed, and it just got too much and had a failure right in Palestine.
The only thing I've heard about the testing on the soil and water is they keep telling everybody that the water is okay. Now, they're saying that the city water in East Palestine is okay, and they have numerous officials on camera getting it out of the tap and drinking it. I know they have started well water testing. I don't know if any of the results are back. And according to what I saw on the news, the EPA was going to start doing soil testing. But as far as I know, other than the water, no tests have come back. They also said that the air is fine too. There's numerous air monitors throughout the city and the outlying areas in East Palestine, and the EPA keeps reporting that the air quality is fine.
I would say one thing that has to change is government officials and the people that are spending money to try to clean this up and understand it need to start asking the right questions. And they need to answer those questions with water testing and soil testing and air testing designed to answer those questions. What we've seen so far isn't that. But there's always time to do the right thing. And so I'm hopeful that agencies will start listening more so to the people so that they can make those decisions.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
I want to tell you there are people across the country that do care.
I hope so.
they do. Some of them are right here in front of you.
I really appreciate you guys being here and getting this word out, because a lot of it's just hard because nobody sees the big picture, like the
long-term effects.
The long-term effects.
How would we know until the long-term happens?
Right.
20, 30 years down the road.
Right. Maybe, I don't know. It depends. It could be 6 with the levels that have been exposed
exactly.
here.
How could we know? Because no one's testing it. No one's looking into it.
My biggest fear is, though, my children getting sick from this and having to watch them die. You know? Getting leukemia and things like that. It's hard as a parent just to be blatantly, flat out not truthful. They're not being on and they're not telling me why. At least if you're not going to do the test, I want a valid reason on why. That's all I want. Nobody can even tell me.
What dangers do these chemicals pose?
Well, the chemicals that have been highly talked about in the public press are vinyl chloride, butyl acrylate, ethyl hexyl acrylate, and some other compounds. They are not necessarily meant for people to be exposed to them. Some of those chemicals are not meant to be in the environment at all. So those chemicals can pose acute health risks. People can get immediately sick if they're exposed to them at a high enough concentration at a certain exposure period.
So you must have heard the reports of animals, fish in particularly.
I've seen them. I made my own video. It was the Sunday before we evacuated. We left town. Braylon and I, my oldest granddaughter, we went down through town, and the creek that runs underneath the town, we pulled up there. The smell was terrible, and I did a video and was pointing out the fish and everything, and that was then. They did not even block the creek off. Like the night it happened, they should have blocked it off to keep it from going. It went down through Little Beaver Creek, went all the way down through Negley into Beaver Creek State Park, all the way down to the Ohio River. And I think they could have had it, contained before then.
How can the water be safe for humans but not for animals?
It's not safe for humans. I don't trust it. I saw the governor and the mayor taking sips of water out of a glass, for publicity or whatever. But my point is, if I was in that position, I would drink it too. But I'd like to see them bring their grandchildren in here to do it, because I don't think they would.
So we talked about how the food could potentially be damaging, be harmful and dangerous. So now this extends beyond just a East Palestine issue. It extends beyond just a Ohio, Pennsylvania issue. The water extends all the way to the Gulf. Does this become a national issue?
I'm going to say yes. It's just real simple. I mean, it starts in a little creek, and where does this water ends? I mean, it all goes south.
You think about it. It hits a major river, and then what happens? It just keeps going.
The Ohio River does not
keeps
tie
going
into the Mississippi.
Yeah. This is. I mean, it may have started here, but it's going to affect everyone. Food, water, everything, and honestly, people aren't understanding it.
Perhaps they're banking on the fact that by the time it gets further south, that it'll be diluted enough that it ain't going to be noticeable as much.
Noticeable. Not that it doesn't affect people.
Right. That it won't be as noticed, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Here, the creek, it was showing all kinds of dead fish and everything in it. Perhaps it won't affect so much further
6
down the
miles
line.
down the river.
Or 20 or 50 or 100 miles.
So many people reached out to us by email, they got my cell number and they texted me asking for us to come and sample their wells or just visit their properties and inspect what happened. We've been testing wells, and some of the wells are very shallow, which means they're very subject to contamination if it exists. And they're only like 10 feet from the contaminated creek that should not be approached by anybody. So many of these communities are concerned, and they have been receiving conflicting information from the agencies. Some of these people have called 2, 3, 4 times for government agencies to come out and take water samples at their property, because the government agencies are on TV telling everybody that they're taking water samples, and nobody's called them back. So that is one of the challenges here, whereas you have government agencies operating detached from the actual people that have the needs. And so that's where I'm hopeful that government agencies and leaders will start listening to the people's real needs and responding accordingly.
That's something I want to talk about real quick, or ask you about. Is there validity in people's concerns about this incident affecting farm animals?
Well, I don't know how it couldn't, in reality, affect farm animals. When they did the burn they called controlled, there was a large plume and a lot of material went up into the air. most of that precipitated back out again, and it no doubt covered the ground that surrounds us. So there would be that material that would be residual, and then also whatever gases or volatile organic compounds that were released.
Do you also believe that there's valid concern about the product that these animals produce, whether it's eggs or meat or milk, that could be potentially harmful or dangerous for consumption?
Right now, I haven't talked with anyone from the Department of Agriculture, but I would imagine initially they're going to ban those products, okay? And that's, once again, out of an abundance of caution. You almost have to do that chemical analysis to find out, what of these chemicals may be picked up by a chicken that would end up in the egg, or by a cow that is grazing in a field. The normal response is put all farm animals on stored feed and water if it's possible. And I'm sure that's, what Department of Ag and the Farm Bureau recommend.
Like my aunt owns a dairy farm. Everybody should be concerned about this, because that milk that they milk from their cows they're eating the grass that this train derailed from, it gets sent in and it gets mixed in with like all the dairy farms from around here get mixed together, and it goes to Walmart for us to buy. You know what I mean? This isn't just an East Palestine problem. This is a big deal. Nobody's talking about the agricultural. There's 125,000 farms here.
The EPA's been around a lot, and so is, I guess, FEMA and other government agencies. Do you feel that they're helping?
No, nobody will answer my question. Nobody. I want to know why they're not testing the water with the right methods. Okay. They're testing it with two methods that are relevant. I mean, they'll test for the vinyl chloride and the benzene, but they won't test for the dioxins and the things that they need to test for. They will avoid those tests at all costs, unless government officials get involved.
You said that this extends beyond just Palestine, East Palestine, Ohio?
Yeah.
Where do you think this can lead to?
I don't know. It's far and wide.
Do you know how far the Ohio River goes?
The whole way, yeah. The whole way down.
The whole way down, yes, exactly.
I actually do think that there is an agricultural concern because, again, you just don't know. The fact that chickens and foxes have already passed away means that something got down to ground level where these animals, were caged and killed them. I don't think the toxicology reports are back on what killed these animals, but it would be, really good to find out. But yeah, we're a real rural area. There's people that raise beef cattle. There's milk cows. There's a lot of corn and soybean that's planted in this area. And in summertime, almost everybody has a little garden. You plant your own tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers, and that's just what we do. And my concern is that, what is in the soil right now could be, put into the plants.
So I've been hearing a lot that people are concerned about animal products, whether it's milk, in this case honey, meats,
chicken eggs.
Chicken eggs. What is that a valid concern?
I would say absolutely. I mean, this is, from what I understand, these dioxins, they get in the ground and they stay in the ground and they move. The water is going to push them around everywhere. So the grass that grows, the cows that eat it, is that going to affect them? Same with the chickens. I mean, they're out pecking in the ground and everything. Are they gonna?
Well, look at the local farmers. I mean, one of our suppliers, he grows local produce, and that's his livelihood. And what's he gonna do? What do people do? You can't. I just can't imagine in his position trying to grow his crops and in tainted soil, and then selling it. I mean, you just don't know.
So let me ask then. Sorry to interject here. So, also your concern then is, even if you brought the bees back, let's say $1 million trillion fell out of the sky, and you can do it. Are you concerned that maybe the air quality is still bad for the bees?
Well, I'm sure the air quality will get better here, but it's the soil. It's what's growing. Is it going to grow contaminated flowers? Is it going to have contaminated pollen? Is it going to be, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not right, obviously nothing is in bloom right now, really, but when it does,
and bees
what's
have
gonna
have to have a water source. That's a big thing. Every one of the apiaries that Steve has, there's a water source of somehow.
Natural.
Okay.
And this isn't it's a poor community. I mean, face the facts. It is. People probably live paycheck to paycheck. Not only do they have to worry about that now they got to worry about the food they consume and the water they drink. So think about that, and then of course you have the people that are mocking our town, or little old East Palestine. Who cares? It's not like it's Chicago or New York or whatever, but we're still human beings and we still need to be cared about. And it seems like everything took so long for people to even get here. All of a sudden our town is just full of reporters and people everywhere, and all of a sudden everybody's giving out free water and this and that. Well, some of these people, you know what? They were out of their homes. That measly $1,000 a person didn't do squat. They were out of their homes, and I mean, we know a lady that, she's down on her luck. She couldn't even afford to buy food. She couldn't go to work. She couldn't, I mean.
What are the necessary steps?
Well, the first thing is you got to get out. You don't want to expose yourself to this stuff any longer than you have to. I know people that are already saying they're moving out of East Palestine and never coming back. It's sad because that's a hard thing to do, is just pick up and move, but you can't risk your health. The other thing is I'm pretty sure that since this happened in East Palestine, people's property values have probably plummeted. Who's going to want to buy a house there? So if you need to sell your house, or you were planning on selling your house, good luck with that.
All I can say is, from our vantage point, we've tried very hard to, stay neutral. We don't get involved in the politics here in town. I'm grateful for the attention that's coming to East Palestine, because I feel like it's important that our voice is heard. And sometimes there's some mixed messages coming from the residents, some that are filled with fear and concern, and don't want this to go away, because then the people that make the decisions go away, and others that are like, okay, I'm over this, I'm drinking the water, we're living our lives, why can't people just keep on keeping on? But through all of that, I've seen nothing but kindness and generosity, and neighbors helping neighbors. We've offered delivery for food, water, and we haven't even had anyone reach out to us for that, because so many people in this community are stepping up for one another and making sure that maybe that person they've never even talked to in all the years they've lived there, they're delivering food and water to them. So it's that side, the human side of it, that has really just kept us charged and kept us wanting to keep doing what we're doing here.
No, I'm just thankful for you and everybody else that's coming here to expose and get this out there, because if not, I think Norfolk Southern thought they could just cover this all up.
I just appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me. It's important that, not only the people in this area know what happened. This can happen on any railroad that goes through any town at any time.
Thank you for being here and trying to get information out on this too.
Thank you for being open.
I'm just very glad that you decided to come and talk with us, okay? Quite often the small areas don't get very much coverage, and if they do, they end up being a very short soundbite somewhere. So I think you've asked good questions, and I'm very pleased you stopped.
Hey, thank you for watching this video, this documentary. This is your friend, your boy, your guy, Joaquin or Octo Squid. I'm in East Palestine, Ohio, heading out right now back to California. Just wanted to thank you for watching this video, and thank you for all the people who agreed to let a stranger like me into your community and to record what is going on here in this little town. I would argue this is probably the worst environmental disaster since Chernobyl. There's so much to say, so much to think about, to get into about the past month here in East Palestine. And maybe we'll never have all the answers to everything, but we do need solutions. And I'm very happy to say this documentary was able to help spread awareness to get to that solution. Whether it's the health concerns or the environmental concerns, the safety, there's a serious problem here and we need to get to the bottom of it and we need to solve it. If anything moved you, please comment and share. And also consider donating to the various GoFundMe links. This is your boy Octo Squid reporting from East Palestine, Ohio. Catch you in the next video. Goodbye. And then, can I give you a hug?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what else to do besides to be here and talk to people because that's the only way people will listen.
No, I'm just thankful for you and everybody else that's coming here to expose and get this out there, because if not, I think Norfolk Southern thought they could just cover this all up.
I just appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me. It's important that, not only the people in this area know what happened. This can happen on any railroad that goes through any town at any time.
I'm just very glad that you decided to come and talk with us, okay? Quite often, the small areas don't get very much coverage, and if they do, they end up being a very short soundbite somewhere. So I think you've asked good questions, and I'm very pleased you stopped.
Keep us in your prayers.
The government agencies and leaders will start listening to the people's real needs and responding accordingly.
Thank you. I hope the same thing too.